You're tuned in to the Foxboro BeatCast, a podcast for Patriots fans by Patriots fans. And here's your host, Kaleb McChesney.
Hello and welcome to the Foxboro BeatCast, everybody. I'm your host, Kaleb and Trent. Alongside me, as usual, my co-host Trent. And we got a packed show for you. A lot of stuff's happened. Obviously, this is the beginning of the NFL free agency. This is called the legal tampering period. I believe the new league year begins as you're watching this on Wednesday at noon. So this episode will go up about a half hour after the new league year begins. So all the trades that have been done will be official. All the signings that have been done will be official. But obviously, with the legal tampering period, everybody gets a chance to go out and talk a little bit early, because they're going to have the conversation anyway. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of non-Patriots things, but we do have a lot of Patriots things to go over as well. We're going to put a pause on the dynasty talk. We'll with the last two episodes coming up this weekend, we'll go over it. We'll watch it, and then we'll go over it on the following week because next week we will have off. I will not be in town. I'm not bringing my laptop. I'm not bringing my microphone. I don't love you people that much. So we'll put a pause on the show for a week while we enjoy our spring break. So, Trent, before we get into everything and all the action, how you been? What's going on? Tell the people.
Been good. I saw my family and I and my girlfriend and I went out to see Kung Fu Panda 4 earlier. It was cool.
I didn't even realize they made second and a third to make a fourth.
The second one is good. I haven't seen the third one. The second one is really good.
Right. So that first one came out, I was like 6. I think that came out like 2008.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago. A couple of graduations later, and here we are. Anyways.
Yeah.
Let's dive right into it. The first move that really happened that really shook the wavelengths here is a trade that we all saw coming. Quarterback Mac Jones traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. Mac Jones' era's over. What is there to say that we haven't said? Is, I guess, the big point I have to take away from this here. We've said it from the get-go. We've been saying it since last fall. It can't go on. The show is about over. Whether he had talent or not, whether he had a real chance to be a star in the NFL or not, kind of irrelevant at this point, at least to the conversation of the Patriots. Whether you think you took him at 15 was wrong or right, whatever you feel about that pick is irreversible at this point. He never really had a chance to be anything more than what he was his rookie year, with poor personnel decisions, poor coaching decisions, poor drafts, bad talent around him. If he had the talent to be an NFL starter, it certainly wasn't going to happen here. So obviously you fumbled his career, you buried it, and all you could get out of your former 1st-round pick was a 6th-round pick. So I don't know. Any parting thoughts for Mac Jones as a Colts fan as he enters your division? Are you just hoping that Trevor Lawrence misses a little bit of time so you deal with Mac Jones twice a year?
Yeah. This is where I always felt like he would end up, not in Jacksonville, but sliding into a role as a backup quarterback. We've seen Doug Peterson work some magic with backup quarterbacks in the past, so a little bit of a different situation, but we'll see what happens with it. I think it's odd that Jacksonville wanted to trade for Mac in particular. I think Mac has value as a backup to see if he still has something, but you would think you would want to pair a Brian Hoyer type, a veteran behind Trevor to kind of help him, work through his issues. But I think it's an interesting spot, and I'm actually pretty interested to see if Mac can work his way into just to mention, a Brian Hoyer type of a career, or if this is going to be the last bit we see of him.
No, right. Listen, Trevor Lawrence has dealt with some durability issues. Not to say that he's injury prone, but he's missed a couple of games every year of his career except for his rookie year, I believe.
Yep.
He's a little dinged up. Mac Jones has valuable starting experience in the NFL. Like, he's certainly an NFL quarterback. Whether that's a backup or a starter is obviously kind of determined at this point. Been long debated, but he's got value. So I think it'll be interesting to see if he gets in. What happens if he gets in that starting role? Is he going to be a little bit more relaxed? He's not going to have the Bill Belichick steel foot up his ass as he did here. It's going to be a little more relaxed, and obviously this is his hometown team. I think there's something cool about that. He grew up a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, grew up just near Jacksonville. We'll see. As far as the whole debate we've had for months and months and years, I'm just glad it's not here anymore. I'm just glad I don't have to talk about it anymore. So, all that aside, Mac Jones, thank you for your services. We wish you well on your future endeavors. Let's get into the action, as we should say. Patriots made some moves. Not a lot of external moves, but a couple of key internal moves as well. Let's just go right from the top, go down to the bottom. We obviously signed offensive tackle Chuck Okorafor. Yeah, let's go with that.
Okafor, yeah.
Let's call him Chucks because that's his name. That's his nickname in the streets. They call him Chucks. So he's an offensive tackle. Got to replace Trent Brown somehow. We didn't know if we were going to have Mike Onwenu. So we go and sign a depth tackle from the Steelers. Always good to have some solid offensive line depth. I believe he's still, 23, 24, 25. He's still pretty young. So depth offensive tackle, you love to see it. And then as soon as the free agency market started to open up, we went in, we signed a running back. Antonio Gibson of the Washington Commanders, 6'2", 210 pounds. His rookie season, he was electric, 1,000 yards rushing for the Washington Commanders. Bit of a dual threat, can catch the ball, obviously the big problem with Gibson is two things. One, he's battled some injuries to a point where he basically lost his job to Brian Robinson, who is NFL's 50 Cent. If you don't know the story behind that, he got shot like 5 times and still lived, and then went to start week 1. Like, it was incredible. I believe he came out to his first game as a starter in FedEx Field to Many Men with the punt, one of the greatest songs of all time, I think.
Oh,
in
yeah,
my personal
for sure.
opinion. Not to get into white guys talking about rap at all. Save that for another day. But yeah, just incredible. Brian Robinson, hell of a guy. Really interested to see how his career pans out. But we got Antonio Gibson. So it'll be interesting to see how he can battle back from injuries. And obviously, this is a mutually good thing, I think, for Gibson and Ramondre, getting some weight off of them and kind of being, a 1-2 complementary type duo. And obviously, the other problem is he's got fumbling issues. I believe last year he had 6 fumbles. Not great. So New England's been known to harp on ball security. We'll see if that's still a thing without Bill Belichick. But yeah, Antonio Gibson, I believe it was a 3-year deal. Not a ton of guaranteed money. Should be all right. All right, now I got to go back and open the list because then this is where things get a little murky. We went and signed Sion Takitaki, linebacker from Cleveland. This fits well because, one, we lost Mac Wilson to a 3-year deal with the Cardinals, although we were close. Takitaki, I guess, is a versatile linebacker. He can cover, he can run around, he can stop the run. We knew what we had in Wilson, and we tried to get on him, and we're banking on Takitaki to be the same solid fit. So we'll see how that goes. It's a 2-year deal for him. Then we went and re-signed Jalen Reagor. I'm sorry that this is out of order. This is just the way that they delivered it to me. Jalen Reagor on a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. Reagor made a lot of fans in Buffalo last year when he returned the opening kickoff, I believe, for a touchdown. If not, it was pretty damn close. Some solid depth, as Marcus Jones was as an all-pro kick returner his rookie year, was hurt last year. So it has some solid depth at the kick return spot. Very happy with that. Former first-round pick. Obviously hasn't panned out as a wide receiver with Philly or Minnesota, but he'll be all right here. He was all right last year. He played some solid snaps on the offense. Then, first big splash move, Hunter Henry at tight end. 3-year extension, $27 million with a maximum value of $30 million. This was a key get. This was a really key get, I believe. Hunter Henry, maybe the best player on offense that we have, certainly as a pass-catching weapon. Red zone magnet, had a lot of great games. I mean, I think of that Pittsburgh game on Thursday Night Football with Bailey Zappi playing probably his best career game. A lot of great catches for Hunter Henry, the former Charger. Glad we could keep him around. We lost Mike Gesicki, I believe, to Cleveland? No, was it Cleveland? Or was it Cincinnati?
Cincinnati. I
Cincinnati.
want to say. I want to say Cincinnati. Yeah.
Man, if Burrow can stay healthy and
Or no, I think it was Cincinnati. Yeah.
no, because Jamar Chase said he was going to give him gritty lessons. I remember on Twitter. But yeah, that Bengals offense could be interesting with Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, and Joe Burrow, all dependent on all of them staying healthy. Let's move on. Let's go to Kendrick Bourne. He got a 3-year deal. I believe this was like the last move we did before the open tapering period came out. $33 million is the maximum value. Bourne, a very solid wide receiver, 2, wide receiver 3. Gets the job done. Obviously, coming off an ACL tear at year 30. Not ideal, but Bourne's a fan favorite here. A lot of explosive plays when he can stay on the field. Was one of the only receivers that seemed to have a little bit of gas with us over the Mac Jones era, if we want to call the last 3 years that. So we'll see how that goes. Very, very big fan of bringing back Kendrick Bourne. Josh Uche, the latest deal, turned down more money to stay here after not playing like at all last year. He had like 11.5 sacks in 2022. Was electric. He was great on the opposite side of Matt Judon and didn't play a ton last year. Not a lot. It wasn't injuries. He just didn't see the field all that much. But he took less money on a 1-year deal to be here. Maybe he can maximize his value, and this was a smart thing to do. And he's going to hit free agency next year and maybe cash in that way. But the former Michigan man, Trent, stand up, salute. Looking forward to see if his role gets any bigger. Mike Onwenu, probably the biggest one. Probably the biggest deal. We brought him back 3 years, $57 million. Better as a guard than a tackle. We played him at tackle out of necessity. He gets paid. I'm glad we could retain him. This was the number one re-signing I wanted done. Because without Mike Onwenu, you had 0 tackles that have valuable NFL experience. So bring back Big Mike. Big deal. Gonna help out a lot. And then we got a homecoming, Trent. We brought him back. Jacoby Brissett, quarterback. I believe he went to college at NC State. I think it was a 3rd-round pick for us in 2016.
Yeah.
Had a crazy good game for us his rookie year because Jimmy popped his shoulder. Brady was suspended. Thursday Night Football, the debut of the Color Rush jerseys, if you might remember.
Yep.
He ran all over the Houston defense. He did. He was spectacular. So, Jacoby Brissett, welcome back. He's going to be your stand-in QB1 until further notice. Whether we get a rookie at 3, whether we trade down, whether we get a rookie in the 2nd round, whether we decide to punt the whole issue next year or the year after that. But Jacoby Brissett, better than what you had. It's looking real good. Jacoby Brissett, big fan. Can't wait to see what he does here in his return to New England. And those are the key additions. I don't think we had too many key losses. I know that Devontae Parker got cut. We had to eat about $3.5 million of dead money on that, and then he went and signed with the Eagles today. Juju Smith-Schuster, we're still trying to get rid of. Jalen Mills, I believe, went to the Giants just recently. The Green Goblin now playing for Big Blue. But no, that's your free agency so far. And if any breaking news happens, I will have it right on my phone here. But Trent, let's go to you because my mouth is tired. What do you make of these contracts? What do you make of the Patriots free agency haul so far? And yeah, let's dive right in. Let's dive right in.
Well, I think I know we agree. I think the Jacoby move makes so much sense. Regardless of what you do, I think it now opens up the lane and opens up a real possibility of we can afford to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and not be terrible next year. And it opens up the lane for that. If you want to trade back, I think now it's adding a whole lot more value because now necessarily you don't need to take a quarterback out of necessity.
Yeah,
so
you
I
can
think
drop down to 11 and not sweat it.
Yep, 100%. If you want to add more receiving talent, Kendrick Bourne, I think you summed it up pretty well. A guy you want to keep on the team. Certainly not somebody you want to be your wide receiver 1, which as it stands right now, he would be by far. Correct? I mean, I can't imagine.
Yeah. between the receivers we have in the building right now, I would say the default was Devontae Parker, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to get rid of Juju. So the wide receiver room right now is Jalen Reagor, Pop Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, who is in the middle of a investigation for underage gambling, and
Yeah.
Kendrick Bourne. So yeah, he's probably the de facto wide receiver one, and he's a fan favorite, a locker room guy. I think it was necessary to bring him back, and I'm glad that we did.
Yeah, I think that was a really solid move. One that outside of the fan base probably doesn't mean a lot, but that's a key piece that you want to keep there. On when you was huge, being able to keep him, especially with all of the money this year and over the next few years that's going to be spent at interior linemen. I think it's great to lock him in now. Trent Brown, I'm assuming, is gone.
Bye.
Yeah, I was about to say I can't imagine he's coming back. So shoring up that offensive line for whether it's Jacoby or especially if it's a rookie is going to be key. So I think so far the Patriots are having a good free agency, and I think we'll get to the potential move
Yep, that
here
was
in
where I was going next because I was like, oh my God, how did I not mention this? We are currently in a bidding war, ladies and gentlemen, for a true maybe wide receiver one. I don't know if we can call him a true wide receiver one, but he could be. I'll throw it out there. I'll throw the suggestion out there.
I think he would be especially for the Patriots, wide receiver one. I mean, if he's not your wide receiver one, you've got a pretty damn good wide receiver room, I would say.
Calvin Ridley. I'll refrain from making the gamble jokes. Calvin Ridley, former Alabama product, obviously dealt with a year under suspension for violating the NFL's gambling policies, which have since been constantly tweaked, constantly revised. But Ridley was betting on NFL games. That's a big no-no, and he got suspended for flat a year. But the Patriots are in on probably the best wide receiver on the market via free agency. Obviously, you have wide receivers like T. Higgins. You had a guy like Michael Pittman who could have been on the block before he got paid, which we'll go over a little bit later. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, those kind of guys. But Calvin Ridley, probably the best guy that you didn't have to like pay a draft pick to get. You're in the middle of a bidding war with Jacksonville. Reportedly, he wants to return to Jacksonville, but Jacksonville's not giving the money he wants. And obviously, there's an added element of if you keep him, they have to get a second, which I believe is no longer the case if he doesn't sign before tomorrow. I believe after tomorrow, he legally was a free agent and he wasn't extended. He was given a new contract. So that would automatically make it a third round pick. I believe that I saw. But either way, Jacksonville has incentive to wait on this. Jacksonville has incentive to not re-sign him. And the Patriots, they need a wide receiver one. So you're in a little bit of a bidding war. We'll see what that decision is. If that decision is made tonight, Trent and I will surely get it to you via Twitter. We have our phones right in front of us, waiting on big news to happen as we record, because it wouldn't be the first time that that's happened.
Nope.
So, on top of that, the Patriots checked in on the Chargers guys. The Chargers could reportedly be interested in moving around some of their older pieces that could have value left. You have two wide receivers in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and you have two edge rushers in Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. When I saw that Joey Bosa could potentially be on the trade block, my eyes popped out of my head. They truly did. A guy like that's that good. Was he just injured? Has he not been great with the Chargers? I don't know what the story is there. Khalil Mack obviously a little bit older. Mike Williams obviously paper mache, can't stay healthy. And Keenan Allen, as good as he is, on the wrong side of 30. I believe he's 34. I'm turning 35.
He's at the youngest 33 going on 34.
But Trent, what do you make of the Patriots' ongoing check-ins and ongoing bidding wars?
I think they're making a lot of smart moves. Calvin Ridley, I'm shocked.
Keenan Allen's 31. He's going to be 32 in April.
Oh, okay. So we're both wrong.
God, he's just been around forever.
Yeah, it feels like he's a lot older.
2013 draft class.
Yeah, feels like he's a lot older than he is. but I think they're making a lot of smart moves. Calvin Ridley, from a career standpoint, I think New England makes a lot of sense. Money wise, it makes a lot of sense for New England. He's perfect for them. Excuse me. New England's been begging for somebody with that kind of talent to be at the wide receiver position for so long now. So I think it'd be a great pickup for them. All of those guys from Los Angeles, from the Chargers, I think would be not necessarily Khalil Mack, but the other three would be good moves. Bosa, it's not necessarily a talent thing. I don't think he's produced as much over the last few years. He's had some serious injury problems. And more so, it's just that those four guys are eating up such a huge part of their cap that even if they were producing at a high level, they can't keep going with the way they're going because they're not going to be able to build anything around Justin Herbert.
All right. And obviously, there's another wide receiver on the market. I believe that I saw the Patriots checked in. T. Higgins. He's going to cost you not only a pick, but he's going to want a new contract. He's franchise tagged. He's going to want the big money extension, as all these wide receivers do. At some point, they're going to want the big time money. Ooh, breaking news. The New England Patriots are signing tight end Austin Hooper from the Las Vegas Raiders. A 1 year, $4.25 million deal. He reunites with Alex Van Pelt. Trent, if you could give me just some instant reactions while I post this on the page, that would be great.
Yeah, Austin Hooper, guy with not necessarily somebody you want being your tight end one, but building a great tight end room, which we've known that's a very Belichickian thing to have talent at the tight end position. You go back to Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. They love having as much talent as they can. Even last year, Gesicki is a really solid tight end too. So that definitely, I think that says a lot about Gerard Mayo's philosophy with how he's going to go. Those big sets, multiple tight ends in the sets, things like that. I think it says a lot about that. Maybe keeping more of the Belichickian ways than we thought as far as the offense goes. As far as a wide receiver too, do we have details on the contract or
For Austin Hooper, yeah, it's a 1 year, $4.25 million contract. See, it's a similar deal as what Gesicki got last year.
Yeah, I think that's a really good deal then. I think shoring up that second tight end spot. I don't know how much older he is than Hunter Henry.
Probably about the same age.
Yeah, I was about to say they're probably about the same age.
He was in Atlanta like 6 years ago.
Jeez, he was. I forgot how long Austin Hooper's been in the league, but I think it's a solid move. Another building block piece, so to
I
speak.
believe he was in Cleveland with Jacoby Brissett
He was
last year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yep.
I like this move. I do. I like this move. As I finally get the post on the page. I told you, breaking news happens here. It does. Without fail, every single time. We're gonna have moves here. We should be breaking news every day. All right. So yeah, just big 25 catches for 234 yards in 17 games last year. Not great, but the Raiders obviously kind of a dysfunctional franchise last year. Got the quarterback move wrong, got the coaching move wrong. Just wasn't great. Wasn't good for Vegas last year. Not at all. But good signing. Very, very good signing. Sorry, it hit us like a ton of bricks. We weren't expecting a deal tonight, as much as we say we're always on the alert. But all right. Share it around. We're done. Hope you all liked that when you saw it 2 nights ago or last night, whenever this goes up, whenever you're watching it.
With how volatile the Calvin Ridley stuff is, I would not be surprised if we heard something about that.
Yeah, we'll be just in the middle of wrapping up, and then we'll have to talk about it a little bit more. But Austin Hooper, Cleveland, Raiders, now Patriot.
I'm going to check Josina Anderson's Twitter because she's been really keyed in on the Calvin Ridley stuff to see if she's said anything
Last I checked, it was only one or two teams. It was us in Jacksonville. God, that's a pretty solid offense if you just insert Calvin Ridley in there. You get another receiver. You look pretty good. Looking pretty good. But
So the latest update from Josina on it, on last check, this is 3 hours ago. Patriots are still opting to keep a deal on the table for Calvin Ridley at this time.
good. As we should. All right.
Yep.
So, with all that in mind, we just had the Austin Hooper deal. That was fun. Let's go to some NFL wide stuff, shall we? A lot of big moves happen. I don't know how we want to start this off, like which deal we want to start with. Do we just want to hit the big one? Because there was a big one.
I'm not even sure what you mean by the big one.
There is a the deal, Trent. This deal was reportedly going to shift the scape of NFL free agency this year. A lot of teams were waiting to make their first move because of this deal, according to a couple of insiders. Quarterback Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah.
4 years, $180 million. He goes to Atlanta. He'll be there until he's at least 39, according to the contract. Listen, Minnesota wanted him around, but they didn't want to commit 4 years to him. The money, I think they would have committed the money to him. But they didn't want to give him 4 years. They didn't want to give him the fully guaranteed contract. Kirk Cousins says, "Okay, I'll go to Atlanta and probably finish my career there." What do we think of that deal, Trent?
I mean, my first thought is good on the Vikings for sticking to their guns on this one, so to speak. This sounds like a very Atlanta Falcons thing to do. This deal only makes sense if you fully believe that the quarterback and the coach were the only things keeping this team from succeeding. And maybe they were.
Which absolutely could be the case. I mean, you have talent up and down that roster on offense and on defense. Apparently, as I was listening to Nick Wright today on the Herd, he goes, according to the smart guy numbers, Atlanta's defense is pretty good too. So, could very well be the case.
It absolutely could be. And if they do, and Kirk is fine coming off the Achilles, which I don't think is for quarterbacks as big of a deal as it is for a wide receiver or running back.
Despite how the big deal Aaron Rodgers made out of it last year.
Yeah, well,
future vice president candidate Aaron Rodgers.
I could say so much about Aaron Rodgers. Let's just not get off on that tangent. But if that's how it works out, then I think it's a great deal for Atlanta. But even if Kirk ends up being great and the head coach is great, who's to say Drake London is just a really solid wide receiver too? Who's to say that Kyle Pitts isn't the second coming of Antonio Gates and he's just going to be a solid tight end? If they're not, if they aren't the guys you think they're going to be.
Bijan Robinson is just like Shane Vereen instead of Barry Sanders.
Well, I feel pretty confident to say that Bijan is that guy. Like I have no problem confidently saying Bijan's that guy. But I have serious questions about Kyle Pitts and Drake London. So if it works out, awesome. If not, Atlanta is really going to be kicking themselves. Because
at that point, there's going to be a lot of changes, top to bottom, with Atlanta if this doesn't work out.
They will have wasted rookie deals on Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, all first-round picks. And I don't know who's in positions of power. They're outside of the owner, the owner, obviously.
Arthur Blank is pretty involved with all that, too.
He is, yeah. But outside of him, because that's not going to change, sweeping changes need to happen if this Kirk deal blows up in their face.
And listen, they're in a perfect spot to do it. They're in a perfect spot to say, hey, we're going all in with a bright coaching staff from LA, the McVay tree. They get Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson as the head coach OC duo. It's very similar to Houston. It's a very similar position that Houston was in last year, except I think Atlanta's talent should be better. I think Atlanta as a roster on paper should be better than Houston. And they go and sign a bright defensive coach. They go and get a bright offensive coordinator. They're in a weak division, just like Houston was last year. A lot of questions with the other three teams. We can get into New Orleans. We can get into Carolina, who just made Deontay Johnson their wide receiver one. Go look at how well that's been going for Pittsburgh the last 8 years. And then what? Am I missing a team? Tampa. And Tampa was pretty solid. You don't really bank on them to be a consistent threat, but they're there. They're a strong team. It's not Brady's Bucks anymore, but they're still pretty good. Houston, not Houston. Atlanta should come in here butting heads for the favorite with Tampa. So we'll see.
I think this deal is a bust if they are not the premier team in this division over the next 3 years.
I'm right there with you. So Kirk gets paid. Kirk got a big deal. Let's see.
Death taxes, Kirk Cousins getting paid.
Oh yeah, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer in football business, hands down. In strictly football business, get in the bag. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I dare say unanimous.
Nobody gets the bag like Kirk Cousins.
Nobody. Maybe Sam Bradford for doing even less work.
That's fair.
Trent, I'll let you pick the next one. We'll go back and forth here. What's the deal you want to go over now?
If I had to pick one, I think let's go defense because I think this Patrick Queen deal is crazy.
I actually didn't hear about this Patrick Queen deal. Lay it on me. This is the breaking news for me. I hadn't heard about this. Where did he go? What's the money?
Yes, so Patrick Queen, let me pull up on my phone the exact money, but he is going to Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yes, he is leaving Baltimore and he is going to play in Pittsburgh, which Lamar Jackson had a very funny tweet about.
He got $13.8 million at guaranteed.
Yep.
3 years, $41 million, average salary about 13.
Yeah, Patrick Queen is one of the best linebackers in football. And to see a Pittsburgh defense that was already awesome to begin with, and now you're adding a guy like Patrick Queen, they're probably going to have the best defense in football. I'd be shocked if Pittsburgh didn't have the best defense in football. And we can talk about the Russ thing. I'm assuming we'll bring that up at least a little bit.
Sure. While we're here talking about Pittsburgh, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm scared to let the words AFC title contenders come out of my mouth.
Oh, spicy. Okay. It's spicy. It's spicy.
It looks like I don't think Russ is that great anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He is head and shoulders better than Kenny Pickett was.
To think that there are people who thought that it was even comparable.
It's not even close. You're getting him for a bargain. You have talent at the receiver position. You have Pat Freiermuth, a talented tight end. And while I'm not the biggest fan of Najee Harris, you have a really solid 1-2 punch in him and Jaylen Warren.
George Pickens, great.
Yep. And the defense top to bottom, I mean, we could go on all day about how great that defense is. And you've got Mike Tomlin. And other than Kansas City, who might be trying to assemble the greatest football team of all time, from what it sounds like, with Baltimore losing Geno Stone and Patrick Queen, I mean, we'll get to Baltimore in a second with what they did, I'm sure. I don't know if there's a team in the AFC better than Pittsburgh, other than Kansas City, obviously.
Ooh, wow! Imagine they're in the AFC title game with the Kansas City next year. That's a hell of a speed run to a Super Bowl contender. Then at that point,
that's what happens when you go from future Jaguar dealership owner to a real life NFL quarterback.
And then just put this hat on for a second. Imagine the Jaguars struggle next year. Trevor Lawrence wants out. The Steelers are in a position to go and make that big time splash and go get a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence right there?
I can't imagine he'll leave Jacksonville.
Really?
Because they could pay him way more than anybody else could.
What if he wants to win? What if he's sick of losing?
I think if Trevor Lawrence were on the Jaguars or on the Steelers right now, they're Super Bowl contenders. Without a doubt.
That's what I'm saying. And now they're going to look at receiver at 20 in one of the best receiver classes that the NFL has seen in a long time. I say long time, but not really. The last couple have been really, really good.
Yeah.
One of the best of
Even
this era for sure. This is going to be something. It's going to be something.
yeah.
All right. I want to go touch on the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
They made some hard moves. They made some hard moves at first. They had to cut David Bakhtiari, cleared up some money. A lot of Packers fans hated to see him go, but it was about time. He was injury prone, couldn't stay on the field. Then they went and, well, with some things in between that we'll get to in a little bit later. I'm still studying the scene here. They asked Aaron Jones to take a pay cut. He said no. Another one of the fan favorites. He goes bye-bye. He goes to division rival with Minnesota, who we'll go over, I'm sure, in a little bit here. But they make some big swings. Maybe one of the best free agent hauls that we wait. Did they make another move? What? Let me make sure that I'm not wrong. Okay, no, they did. They did get him. Okay, so first things first, they get Josh Jacobs. 4 years, $48 million, 12 per, an absolute steal for one of the best young running backs in the NFL. And Josh Jacobs. Love him. He's going to be great there in Lambeau. A.J. Dillon stocks go down, unfortunately, but Josh Jacobs is the man. Josh Jacobs is the man on a young offense, up and coming, littered with up and coming talent. It's unbelievable. Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave. Then you add Josh Jacobs to that. They're going to be the Packers. They said, all right, Detroit, you had your fun. Now we're going to go here. We're going to load up on our offense, and we're going to go get one of the best young safeties in the NFL with Xavier McKinney, who said he was sick of losing, had to leave New York to go get that done. Xavier Gibson goes. He signs a deal for 4 years, $68 million, 25 guaranteed.
Yep. That is a guy I really wanted in Indianapolis. I'm really bummed out that we didn't get him. Xavier McKinney is so good.
And I don't think I missed out on any other Packer deals. So those are the two. Those are the two big splashes. What do you make of the Packers?
I was saying the other day that team is going to be scary. I was saying to a buddy of mine that we were talking, and I'm glad you brought it up because Lions Packers is going to be as fun as it's been. I don't know how long. I mean, you have to go back to prime Megatron days to think about the last time Green Bay and Detroit was this fun. I mean, that very well could be the NFC Championship game this year.
And we got a lot of we're putting our reputations on the table here.
Well, it could be. I'm not predicting that it's going to be. I think San Francisco is still clearly the class of the NFC, but I think Detroit is right there under them as the second best team. And if Jordan Love can make that next step, you're bringing in a guy who is, in my opinion, much more talented than Aaron Jones and clearly A.J. Dillon as well, and one of the best safeties in the entire league, shoring up a defense that was already growing and getting better. Losing Bakhtiari isn't great. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to lose David Bakhtiari either, but I look at that team and the performance they had against Dallas, and this team can compete. I mean, they were one play away last year from being in the NFC title game, and all they did was get better.
No, I think David Bakhtiari will have a solid job lined up. I think the Jets are already working on that contract, and Aaron Rodgers is already trying to put him in the cabinet. All right. Yeah. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to stick in the division? Do you want to go outside? Where do you want to go?
We could go Baltimore and talk about the Derrick Henry deal.
Go talk about Baltimore. What do you got?
I think I'm surprised this deal didn't happen sooner. I'm surprised it took a day to get done because Baltimore tried to trade for Derrick Henry at the deadline and nothing came of it. They signed him now. If Derrick Henry is at least what he was last year, Derrick Henry could be obviously this isn't real life, but a fantasy MVP type season could be there because now you go from having all these backs who not nearly as talented, not nearly as big, not nearly as much of a force multiplier in the sense of how much gravity you're bringing in from the defense, how much attention you command on yourself. They upgraded from a Honda Civic to a Ferrari as far as our running back room goes.
Mm-hmm.
And am so interested to see what the playbook is going to look like with Lamar and him in the backfield. They still need some receiver help, but that offense, while the defense definitely took a step back, I think the offense just took a huge leap forward.
I'm right there with you. Let's go to another team who invested big time in a running back, Saquon Barkley. 3 years, $37 million. Was shocked that he made the money he did with all of the injury concerns, and but he's gonna have a huge weight lift off of him now because he's not the focal point in that offense anymore.
Nope.
He's gonna help out with the tush push in Philly. That Eagles offense, they said, all right, DeAndre Swift, you weren't cutting it for us, dude. He goes sign him to Chicago. They bring in Saquon Barkley, and this made some waves, obviously, with Tiki Barber. Saquon's dead to Tiki Barber now, but I don't think he
Oh
cares.
no.
He got paid. He's gonna go play in the link. He's gonna be on one of the best offenses, talent-wise, in the NFL. If they could just get it together again, just figure out what went wrong last year, and they add Saquon Barkley, Eagles are right back there for contending for the NFC East with Dallas again. Dallas, who's been absurdly quiet this offseason so far. No, very unlike Jerry Jones.
Well, Jerry's being smart because, and I do have something I want to say about Saquon and the Eagles in a second, but when you think about all the people they have to pay Dak, they have to pay CD, they have to pay Micah Parsons. Those are going to be three
$60 million contracts.
Yes, those are going to be three market resetting type deals they're going to have to make. So they don't have enough room. They're doing a great job at planning out their cap, is what they're doing. They're not cutting off their nose to spite their face and making a bunch of little deals now that may or may not end up. I just got a text from my brother who's a Ravens fan about the Patrick Queen deal. I can't say it on air. But I think he's being smart about it. The Colts are doing the same thing. Every deal they've signed with anybody is at most 3 years, lining it up with that potential Anthony Richardson extension. As far as the Eagles go, this deal doesn't make any sense to me. And the reason why I say that is we know what the issues were last year, and none of them were the running game. DeAndre Swift is far from the greatest running back in the world. He's certainly no Saquon Barkley, but he was productive. He had some really good games for them. And like I said, he might not be a superstar. He might not be a Saquon Barkley type talent, but when you look at that barren defensive backfield they have, sure, they just re-signed CJ Gardner-Johnson, but Darius Slay seems to be on the back heels of his career, so to speak. James Bradbury did not look very good the majority of last season. The defensive backfield is what was losing them those games. That's why the team wasn't producing like they were. Jalen Hurts, more than likely being hurt most of the year, didn't help either. I think it's a lot of money to put into a running back that they didn't really need when they could have signed his name is escaping me, DeAndre Swift for half of $10 million less about.
And we talked about the Cowboys a little bit. I meant to interject before we went to the Eagles thing, but it's okay. Obviously, you said 3 market-setting deals between Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. Imagine a hypothetical universe where you have to let one go. Which one are you letting walk? Which one are you not giving the market altering deal to? Because I have my answer. I think it's clear cut. I think it's pretty straightforward. But I'm interested to see if you agree or disagree, and I want you to give your answer first.
I don't know if there's necessarily a wrong answer here. I don't know if there's necessarily a right answer either.
I think the wrong answer, universally, is Micah Parsons.
interesting
I
because
think
I would
that's the
say
wrong answer of, oh, yeah, we're just going to let Micah Parsons walk. That dude's a generational pass rusher who can do it all. You're not letting go of that guy. I think that's the wrong answer for sure.
then what do you think the right answer is? I'm curious.
Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Not because I hate Dak Prescott. You and I are largely
Yeah.
on the same page on Dak Prescott, but hit 30. CeeDee Lamb is still a young receiver, still a very young, very elite receiver. I wouldn't say he is like Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, or anything, but CeeDee Lamb very, 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 very good. It's hard to find that guy. I know it's hard to find the quarterback, but if you're paying top of the league money for these three positions, right? I feel the worst about giving Dak Prescott the number one quarterback contract in the league. That's just my perspective. Obviously, if you pay them all and you could pay them all, great. But if it comes to a crossroads, listen, I love Dak. He's a top 10 quarterback in the league, definitely. He hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. If he
Well,
had
I
won,
think that's
if he,
more that
if he
has
had a Super Bowl, I think it's a little bit harder of a decision. But I think obviously we know Dak's limitations come January. We know what happens when the Cowboys hit the playoffs in January. Maybe it's not entirely his fault, but his game doesn't keep up in January.
I don't know if there's any coach in the league winning Super Bowls with that team, any quarterback in the league winning Super Bowls with that team with the incompetency of
That is fair. That is
the
fair. For sure.
coaching.
For sure. That is a fair point. But again, CeeDee Lamb, 25, 24 years old. The ceiling is still yet to be touched.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think I agree with you actually that of the three, Dak makes the most sense to part ways with if you need to. I also think
Obviously,
that
don't look to part ways, but
yeah, I also think at the same time though, those positions are maybe not pass rusher, but receiver certainly is much easier to replace than quarterback is.
listen, you're talking to a guy who hasn't found a first round receiver since my lifetime.
When's the last time you drafted a first round receiver?
N'Keal Harry.
Exactly.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
how long?
And then before that, like the first top 2 rounds receiver the Patriots ever drafted was Deion Branch, who worked out ish, if you
Yeah.
want to call it that. Before that, got nothing. But I think that was a worthy conversation to have. Anyways, let's go to Minnesota next. I guess I'll take full control over the steering wheel. They miss out on Christian Wilkins, who got paid by Vegas. I'm sure that's the team we'll go to next. So they say, okay, we're just going to get Jonathan Grenard, one of the better pass rushers in the league. They're going to let Daniel Hunter walk. I believe he went to Houston, right?
Yep.
Yep. Obviously, you're a little not pleased about that.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Well, we are going to talk about it, but yeah. So we do that. They let Kirk Cousins walk. They bring in Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel. And they bring in Aaron Jones. A nice little haul for them. And obviously they get their bridge quarterback with Sam Darnold. I don't believe it's a very volatile move. I think everybody kind of saw this coming, that they were going to let Kirk walk. They were going to go bring in this bridge guy, and then they're going to try to trade up in the draft. That's been their game plan. It's the worst kept secret in the NFL. So Vikings get a cute little haul. We'll see how that turns out. Let's go to Vegas, shall we? Another move that has something to do with the Colts. They get Gardner Minshew, former Colt. What do you make of this little kind of how do you put it? This is a quarterback competition down there, I think, with Gardner Minshew. Obviously, they go and also pick up Christian Wilkins, who signed a big time contract. My lord, 4 years, $110 million. I was not aware he was that good.
Yeah.
But quarterback competition in Vegas. Do you think it's a competition? Do you think Minshew's the guy? Because a lot of people say Minshew is the guy.
I think Minshew is 100% the guy because of how he looked last season to people who weren't watching the games. I love Gardner. I love he carried the team, not carried the team, but he carried the brunt of having to be that quarterback coming in the tough spot. And he did as well as he could for a backup quarterback, but he is a backup quarterback. I'm surprised Gardner got as much money as he did. And you don't pay a guy that much money unless you're fully expecting him to be the starter of your team, at least in this scenario. Paying him that much money to back up second year Aiden O'Connell would be very weird, but it's also a very Raiders thing to do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think he's better than AOC, but it's probably marginal.
I'm saying this is a pro AOC podcast.
Yeah, I know. You know me. I'm a big fan of AOC as well. The move was weird to me, especially when Justin Fields' value has been lowered as much as it has. I'm interested in them not just going after Justin Fields.
Any other team that we want to really, really touch on? We can touch on the Tony Pollard contract if you want. He was the
Probably not going to age well.
He was the first running back off the board. 3 years, $24 million. They also pick up linebacker Kenneth Murray. They pick up Chidobe Awuzie, another good player. They pick up Lloyd Cushenberry. They're looking all right. They're looking this offensive free agency haul is looking all right. I think they got the right pieces. At least they were looking at the right piece. They obviously had to trade Derek. They had to trade in Derrick Henry, and then they go get a little bit younger, a little bit less tread on the tires with Tony Pollard. But you say this isn't going to age well.
I don't, and I'm a big Tony Pollard fan, but this very much has Miles Sanders written all over it, I think.
Tony that wasn't
Pollard,
the name I thought you were going to go for.
What's the name you thought I was going to say?
Marco Murray.
Yeah, I've seen the DeMarco Murray comparisons out there too. I don't know if I would be that charitable to it. Maybe Tony Pollard last year just had the bad year off the injury, and then this is the year he gets back to 100%. The kind of in the same way we're hoping to see out of Javonte Williams this upcoming season. Maybe it's that, and it looks great. Maybe it's that he's lost a step, like another running back we could talk about who got a deal, Austin Eckler. I don't think it's going to age super well. At that price, I would have just paid Derrick Henry. I don't know if that was on the table. I don't know if the
Probably
Henry
not.
leaving. Probably not. Henry leaving felt like it was more than just about the money. But I don't. They have, outside of DeAndre Hopkins, no receivers. The offense is gross. You know, I'm not a believer in Will Levis. I think he's fine at best, but not the answer there. And I think, especially with losing Vrabel, Lord knows what that team is going to look like next year.
Yep, but they do get a couple of defense pieces as well. Kenneth Murray, Lloyd Cushenberry. Then they go and get a corner with Chidobe Awuzie. Yeah, so Tennessee has a decent haul so far. We'll see what that turns out to be. Let's go to Washington because you mentioned them. They obviously get Austin Eckler, who you don't like at all.
No.
And they go and pick up Marcus Mariota for a 1-year deal.
Which is weird.
They get a center in Tyler Biazdes, 3 years, $30 million. They go get linebacker Frankie Lulu, 3 years, $31 million, and defensive end Dorrance Armstrong. Dan Quinn's basically just trying to rebuild what he had in Dallas. But obviously the big time deal that we were talking about here is Austin Eckler with the 2 years. How much money did he get? 2 years, $8 million. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't get much, and fantasy football merchant Austin Eckler. The people who think Austin Eckler is a great NFL running back at this point are the people who look at fantasy football box scores and think they translate to real life when they don't. The Marcus Mariota deal is weird. He is, I don't even know if I would say he's a great backup at this point. He's solid at best at this point. And you've got Sam Howell, which, if your plan is to trade back, ride with Sam as your guy and get that veteran presence in there, I think it's a great deal. If he's gonna be your QB2.
But we came in here assuming that everybody was out on Sam Howell.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But now that they're signing Marcus Mariota, it makes me think that are they trading Sam Howell? Are they gonna ride one more year, maybe in a better situation? You see what you got with them. I'm personally not a huge fan of Sam Howell, but I think there's something there. Maybe worth exploring. The team is going to be worthless no matter what next year. So I don't mind that. I think picking Jaden Daniels is the way to go, but running 3 QBs deep just didn't make much sense to me.
I'm scrolling through these teams just to see if there's anything big that we're missing that is going to piss somebody off before we get to your Indianapolis Colts. I'm making you sit on it. Giants haven't done much. The Jets haven't done much.
The Giants made a massive deal today.
Oh yeah, the Brian Burns thing. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that.
Oh, they got Drew Lock too.
That's what I was talking about. That's my guy. Yeah.
All
I
right,
would have
Trent,
loved to
lay it
see him
out.
be the backup in Indy.
He might start in Indy.
Whoa.
What?
You just said he might start in Indy?
Daniel Jones is that bad?
You said in Indy.
Oh, sorry.
I was
Sorry.
about to say,
I had
I know
Indy on
you're
my
not the
mind.
biggest Anthony Richardson fan, but my God.
I had Indy on my mind. No, he might start with the Giants. But obviously
He might.
their big deal is trading for Brian Burns for the second and the fifth round pick. And they obviously gave him the big extension. Brian Burns, what do you think?
I I don't really know what the Giants are doing. I even more so question what the Panthers are doing. Brian Burns is awesome. I think they got him. They didn't really have to give up too much to get him either.
I
I
thought
think
they were
it's a
gonna have to
great.
give up both seconds.
Yeah, I thought they might have to for a second too. So I think getting him for a second and fifth is a phenomenal deal, but you're putting so much stock into the defensive line. How about you go get a receiver? How about you go get somebody to help you on the offensive side of the ball? It's not 1985. You're not just going to dominate people with a great defensive line. You just lost Xavier McKinney. I I don't get it. If you want to have the 2024 Purple People Eaters, that's cool. Twitter notification? Nope, not that. Sorry, something else.
I was
False,
like, wait.
false alarm, everybody. But I think Brian Burns is a great player. I think New York got him for pretty cheap for what I think his value is. Isn't what I would be focusing on if I were the Giants personally.
No, but they did get somebody on the offensive side of the ball. They got Drew Lock.
They did get Drew Lock.
And they got Patriots
God.
legend Jermaine Illuminor.
I don't even know who that is. I'm
He
not even.
sucks. He's a backup tackle. He's awful. Go look at some of the 2019 Patriots offense, Brady's last year. You can see Jermaine Illuminor get Brady killed like
Oh my God.
numerous times a game. Illuminor is not my guy. But they went and got John
Okay.
Runyon and Devin Singletary to replace Saquon Barkley, who they didn't even give a deal to. They didn't even give a deal to him. Didn't even offer. Isn't that pathetic?
It is odd. It is very odd.
It's a little pathetic. They lose Tyrod Taylor to the Jets, by the way. And they signed Patriots legend Jalen Mills. All right. We're not missing any teams, are we? Did Detroit do anything? I know we have some Detroit listeners.
We could talk about Houston. We touched on Houston.
Marcus
But
Davenport to Detroit. I don't care. I really don't care. That's one of
uh,
the Detroit reclamation projects. All right. Houston. They made a couple of moves. They went and signed Jeff Okudah to a 1-year deal. They brought back Noah Brown, who was a lot older than I thought he was.
yeah.
Tommy Townsend, 2-year deal, get their punter back. Danico Autry, 2 years, $10 million from Tennessee. Aziz Al Shahir, 3 years, $34 million. I was I don't know his name that well. I'm shocked that he commands that kind of market, but okay. And then the big one that pisses you off, that just grinds your gears, Trent. Daniil Hunter, 2 years, $49 million. He goes to Houston. Take it away.
It doesn't, that deal in particular doesn't, let me put it like this. It doesn't piss me off yet. When we don't get L'Jarius Sneed, it's really going to piss me off.
Why is that?
Because you have Houston, who is out here making moves, and they're improving the team. Daniil Hunter is a phenomenal pass rusher. and the Colts need pass rush bad. We just don't get to the quarterback. It's been an issue the entire Ballard era. Our pass rushers are fine. Kwity Paye is fine. It's just that we need to improve. If the Colts ever want to do something, they can't just keep bringing back their guys, which is what they've done. They brought back Michael Pittman on a great deal. I'm glad that Pittman is back. It's a
Kind
very
of a
team friendly.
similar position as the Patriots, bringing back the guys that you have,
Yeah,
making sure you do that.
the guys who we have who have never won anything. Colts haven't won a playoff game since 2018. I think 2018, 2019. We haven't won since Luck's last year in the league. So however long exactly that is, since the last time we won a playoff game. We haven't been to the playoffs since Phillip Rivers was here, if that tells you anything.
I remember that year.
Yeah, we bring Pittman back on a great deal. We bring Kenny Moore back, make him the highest paid slot corner in the entire in NFL history, which I don't mind that deal too much. I like Kenny Moore a lot. We bring back Grover Stewart, kind of a weird deal, especially since he missed the majority of last season on steroid suspension and just being hurt. And then we bring back
Taekwon Lewis.
we brought back Taekwon Lewis, which was a smaller deal. Made sense to do that. But we're not adding to the team. This is what the Colts do every single year. We hear from insiders this is going to be the year they spend big. We're top 5 in cap space every single year, and the Colts just proceed to not use it and not go out and get any of these guys. And I don't know if it's for lack of trying or not. But at the end of the day, you have a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. You need a cornerback. You can go get an all-pro level player in not even in the prime of their career yet. And from what it sounds like, the asking price is a second-round pick and giving him a new contract. This deal should have been done yesterday, if that's what it is. And this is what I'm saying. If L'Jarius Sneed, I'm not going to say exactly what I said earlier. If L'Jarius Sneed is not an Indianapolis Colt and he gets traded for anything less than a first-round pick, I'm going to lose my mind.
You're going to come on here and you're going to be pissed?
Yes, because what we're hearing is, oh yeah, the Colts were in on Danielle Hunter, they were in on this guy and that guy and blah 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 blah, but they're really holding out for that Sneed trade. Okay, what if we don't get L'Jarius Sneed?
JC Jackson.
Patrick Mahomes just cleared $21.5 million out of their cap, excuse me. That's probably enough to re-sign L'Jarius Sneed. Then what? Danielle Hunter, a guy you were also super in on, he's gone. All of the big name free agents that can actually help your team out, for the most part, they're all gone. So now you're riding on Anthony Richardson, being the savior of the team and being able to elevate that much more than Gardner did. And I think he can do that. But if the injury issues Anthony Richardson has, if that turns out to just be his career, God forbid, what are we doing? You need talent. We don't need solid guys. Zaire Franklin is the guy I forgot. Brought him back on a phenomenal deal. But we don't need really good guys. We need great guys. Michael Pittman, I think, is a great receiver. We can do better. And that's kind of the story of Chris Ballard's time in Indianapolis, is that he's always had great players. We've always been able to do better, and we just don't.
And we forgot to mention one thing with Houston. They go and get Joe Mixon for a 7th-round pick.
Yes, they did. Which I think Joe Mixon's on washed alert, but we'll see how he looks.
He's been on washed alert the last couple of years. And as soon as like the mainstream gets around to it, he has a really good game, and we forget.
Pretty much, yeah.
But Houston goes and gets themselves a pretty good running back after Dameon Pierce, and the other guys just don't work out as well as they should have. But nope, that's about it for big time deals. Let me find something that has like, oh, we lost somebody. The Patriots lost somebody. Tight end Farrell Brown headed to Seattle. Mm-hmm. That sucks. He was a fun little player, but that explains why we got Austin Hooper.
Yep.
That perfectly explains why we have Austin Hooper. So let's see. I need to find a tweet of the best remaining guys. That's harder to find than I thought it was going to be. The Colts have spoke with free agent safety Justin Simmons. If you're interested in that.
That'd be awesome. I would love to get Justin Simmons back.
Okay, I have a tweet of the best available free agents. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver. Devin White, linebacker. Kendall Fuller, corner. Marquise Brown, wide receiver. Seahawks, Bobby Wagner, linebacker. Tyron Smith, who I really want here. I really want Tyron Smith in New England. Him on Wenyu on that O-line, God, you're setting your future quarterback up for success. Stephon Gilmore, bring him back. I'm down. Tyler Boyd, wide receiver. Chase Young, defensive end. That's not great. Chase Young's had a really weird career. Not great. Eric Armstead, defensive tackle. Justin Simmons, safety, who we just mentioned. Jadeveon Clowney, who's never lived up to the first overall pick hype. Curtis Samuel, wide receiver. I wanted him 4 years ago. Trent Brown. DJ Reader, defensive tackle. Calais Campbell, he's not retired. Jonah Williams, I believe he's a tackle. Steven Nelson, I believe is a corner. Christian Fulton's a corner. Adoree Jackson, corner / kick returner. A quarterback I was interested in if we didn't get Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Tannehill. He's still out there. Odell Beckham Jr. still out there. J.K. Dobbins is still out there. I thought he was still in Baltimore. Micah Hyde out there, and Tre'Davious White, who I also want in New England. Colts should be in on Tre'Davious White too. He's a nice budget option. He can play up if he stays healthy.
Yeah, that's just another guy that I don't want budget options with some potential upside. I just want the Colts to go get a guy. You know, we made the trade for DeForest Buckner however many years ago has been now, and he's been awesome for us. But he's a defensive tackle, and that's the best. If the best player on your team is a defensive tackle, that's a problem.
At Jets, Quinn Williams.
Justin Simmons would be great though. I would have rather had Xavier McKinney, but that would be a pretty nice consolation prize if we can bring in Justin Simmons.
All right. So with all that in mind, we're not going to be here for another 2 weeks. So we got any parting thoughts for the people on this honestly perfectly timed podcast? I like how the pacing of this. I liked how it went. We went through the entire league. I don't think we missed anything.
I don't think we missed anything big.
I'll scroll through again just to make sure, just so we don't have that one guy in the comments. Hey, why didn't you talk about this?
The Carlton Davis trade to Detroit, I think, is really interesting. I don't have much to say about it, but I think that's a steal, especially for what they got him for. Could be, I think, last piece is strong, but of that defense, could be the last piece they're looking for.
Gabriel Davis to Jacksonville. They did the same thing they did with Christian Kirk, although Gabriel Davis isn't as good as Christian Kirk. He's too streaky. He's not very. I don't think Gabe Davis is very good. I think he's got the kind of streakiness of Mike Evans with like a fraction of the talent.
I agree. Hence the you said
Well, I had my the list up, so I didn't see you do that. So I was like, okay, but no, I think that's it. Kevin Byard goes to the Bears. I think that was done beforehand. Adrian Epinesa goes back to Buffalo. Yeah, I think we got most of it. I think we did a good job of just wrapping it all up. Zach Moss goes to Cincinnati. That's why
would be a really good spot for him.
You think Zach Moss can fill in and do everything Joe Mixon did?
I think he can. I also think Cincinnati is going to be looking to draft running back pretty high in the draft.
Blake Corum spot?
I think there's absolutely no way Blake Corum is not a Los Angeles Charger.
I'm with you.
There's no way he's not going to the Chargers.
All right, so we won't be here for another 2 weeks. We're obviously going to miss some stuff. That's to be given. But
hot take, real quick, off the dome prediction. 2 weeks from now, what team is L'Jarius Sneed on?
I've been touting the anticlimactic free agency all offseason long, and for the most part, I think I've been right. A lot of things haven't been surprising. So I'll say with that Chiefs cap space cleared up, I think there's a solid chance they just re-sign him.
That's kind of where I'm leaning to. Because all of the other contenders seem to be dropping like flies, signing other defensive backs, things like that. Besides the Colts, they re-signed Kenny Moore, but that wasn't really factoring into the Snead stuff anyway. Please, just as one time, just trade a first round pick. It won't kill you, I promise. Just please, just trade one.
All right. Well, Trent, thank you for joining. I assume that you'll be back after spring break, and I get a nice, solid sunburn when I come back. I'm going to be out in the desert, do a lot of drinking, do a lot of baseball. But yeah, Suns game. That'll be fun. Yeah, enjoy your spring break, everybody. Enjoy mid-March as we try to power through the last bit of this cold, rainy bullcrap. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, comment. Comment what you want the Patriots to do. Comment your fingers crossed for Trent. And we will see you all in a couple of weeks. Thank you for watching Foxboro BeatCast. We will see you all again very soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Foxboro BeatCast. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.